la famille.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming. So as Anne-Laure said, I am a CEO and founder of Addict, and I am quite an expert in mobile marketing. Just a few words about myself. Before working at Addict, I have worked 6 years at Gameloft, the mobile game developers. I especially set up and managed all the user acquisition activity of Gameloft all over the world. And I was in charge of hiring some people in the US, Asia, and Europe, and manage all the user acquisition marketing budget of Gameloft. So I spent a lot of money. It was 6 years ago, 6 to 7 years ago. I left Gameloft 4 years ago. We founded the first company, which is named Mobin Life. It's a mobile game studio. We launched 4 games so far. We reached 10 million downloads. It worked okay, but we are not rich. So it was quite a fail for us, this first company, Mobin Life, even if it was okay in terms of downloads and revenue. And inside Mobin Life, we started doing some user acquisition for our own games at Mobin Life. So I use my expertise at Gameloft in order to promote our own games. And we also built some technologies in order to do it better. And we use this technology for some external clients. So we started doing a kind of consulting activity in order to bootstrap the company, then launch the company without raising money. And it worked very well, in fact. We started working for some big guys, big names. And then 2 years ago, we decided to launch a new venture, so a new company named Addict, which is a company dedicated to user acquisition. So I work for quite a lot of apps, mobile games, travel apps, e-commerce applications, some mobile websites also. So we work for some small startups or big companies. So today my goal is to give you some advices on how to manage user acquisition, how to manage marketing for either a mobile website or an application. The goal is to be quite practical, give you some specific examples, some metrics and so on, and to explain you the life cycle of user acquisition. So we are going to check 4 main topics. First, when to start. Everybody knows that you have to wait for the production of your app to be ready before launching your user acquisition, but I will be a bit more specific on it. Second part will be on the technical aspects related to user acquisition. So what shall you prepare upfront in order to manage user acquisition? Third point will be the media plan. What money, what volume of download, what to do in fact. And last point will be, once you launch user acquisition, what do you do? A few words about Addict. So we work for many companies. So here I will give you some examples during the presentation about some small apps and also some example of big apps. So small budgets, big budgets, and some metrics that come from our expertise, either on mobile games or some other companies. So first of all, when to start? So I will tell you about myself, my own company, Mobin Life. We launched our first game, it was 3 years ago. The name of this game was Phone Fight. It was a kind of Tamagotchi game. You can still download it in the App Store, but I think that we have some problems on the server, so maybe it doesn't work anymore. Anyway, you can give it a try. We launched the games globally in January, February 2013. So it was 3 years ago. But in fact, we didn't launch the game really in January 2013. We launched it 4 months before, only in France. So the goal for us was to do what we name a soft launch. So you launch the game with a significant volume of users, but not too big, only in one country in order to test the app and see how the users react. So we launched the game, in fact, in October 2012, and we did some updates on the game. So all the red arrows here are updates that we did on the game. So when you launch your app, you test, you check what happens with your analytic tools, and you will be able to check what happens in terms of retention, monetization, and your goal then is to iterate very fast in order to optimize what performs well or what doesn't perform well, change it, erase some stuff and so on. So you have to go fast. On our side, it took 4 months. It's quite significant for a small company because, of course, until the game is not live, you don't make money. So your goal is to go as fast as possible in order to have a minimum viable product. If you don't have a minimum viable product, it's completely useless to launch your app because you will just burn the new users who will be the best user for your app. So you have to wait before launch. And what we did is then launch first in one country, France, because we are French. So it was easier for us to ask our friends to download the app and get some user reactions and optimize accordingly. And after we launched countries per countries. So the goal for us was to check little by little every month what happens, are the people happy or not, and then optimize accordingly. We went even further. We launched the game only on iOS for the first 6 to 7 months. So from February 2013 until September 2013, the game was only live on iOS. The goal for us was to be perfect only on one OS, be sure that we are bug-free and then it works well, and afterward launch on Google Play. Then in green, it's the volume of downloads on Google Play, and in black, it's the volume of downloads on iOS. So it allows us also to be sure that our product on Google Play was perfect when we launched it on Google Play. Eventually, on a Phone Fight, we reached 4 million downloads. The game was profitable, which was quite good for our first game on our side. And last example on this topic is our second game, Pig Squeeze. We did the same, so iteration. But here we did it especially on the features. So Pig Squeeze, it's a kind of board game. You have a picture and you can you must guess a word related to the picture. So it's quite easy to play. We launched it only on Amazon App Store. So the goal for us was to test only on one app store, and we launched it first only on with one features, one mod, which was a solo mode. And we waited a couple of months before launching on multiplayer mode. So before launching your app, you must be sure, globally, you must be sure first that the app is bug-free. On mobile, it's very complicated because on iOS or on Android, you have hundreds or thousands of devices. So it's quite hard, in fact, to be able to test everything. So the goal of soft launching is to be able to get feedbacks on all the kind of devices and check that it works well on every device. So it's really key. You must check all the devices, or as much as possible, and you must have a big enough audience in order to be sure that you have enough data to make some decisions based on that. You must have a good monetization, of course. You must have a good virality, which means when you push your app high in the App Store, do the people download it or not? Are the people attracted into your app? So, okay, you pay money to get downloads, but once you pay money for one download, can you get 1, 2, 3 more for free? And the last point, which is the most critical, you must have a great retention. Whatever is your app, whatever is your monetization on day 1, day 3, day 7, if you don't have a good retention, if people don't stick into your app, people will leave, they won't tell about your app, and it will just die. So in fact, it's okay to have an application that has a great retention, but a low monetization. It's okay, because you will be able to monetize them afterward. If people like your app, at one point, you will be able probably to find a business model for it. If your retention is bad, it's just dead. And another point, focusing on when to start the user acquisition for your app, so when to kick off the marketing, is to think about your packaging. The packaging is really key. So packaging, it's like a Chocapic pack of cornflakes. If it's ugly, you don't want to buy it. It's the same for an application. If it's ugly, you don't want to download the app, even if the app is free. So you have to pay attention to several criteria, 4 to 5 criteria. First one is the icon and the title. Is your title clear enough? Is your title relevant on what is your app? If your title is not relevant, why would I download your app? So you have to get a good name. The name is critical. Second main point is the icon. The icon is what people will see first. If your icon is ugly, they won't download it. Same. So your icon must be big enough while being tiny, so it's complicated. It must be understandable of what your application does, and it must be catchy. So it's really paramount to work on it a lot. Third point is the screenshots. Screenshots are completely paramount also. It's critical to have great screenshots. And actually, if you have only one stuff to focus on, it's the screenshots. Most of the screenshots of the companies we are working with have bad screenshots. So you have to focus on them. What do you want to put on your screenshots? You want to have an attractive picture of what is your app, and you want to have some text above the picture in order to push people to understand, to read it, and then to download the app. Because the truth is that the first criteria, which is description, text, nobody reads it. Nobody cares, because people don't like to read anymore. So people, they watch the picture, they see 4 words, share photos and more. Okay, I understand, I download. They won't read the 5 lines below. So pay attention about it. So I will give you a few examples about our own apps also. About the title. So our first game was Phone Fight, but in fact the first name of the game during the soft launch was MobiMaster. We believed it was a good idea because it was less fight-oriented and it was broader and it could attract a larger audience. Truth is that nobody understood what is MobiMaster. Nobody cared. So we discovered that after a couple of weeks or months, and then we decided eventually to switch to Phone Fight. It's easy, simple, efficient, phone, fight, battle of phone. Okay. So it's a good idea to iterate your title and don't stick to your original title if you think that there is a big mistake, because the truth is that if you have a bad name, you will just lose 50% of your users, which is a bit stupid. Second example for our second game, which is Pig Squeeze. At the beginning, we had the icon on the left, your left. And for us, so we did a kind of mix between Instagram with a question mark, so it was a kind of quiz game. But truth is that nobody knows what is the app, in fact. So eventually, we decided to switch to quiz. So it's the same icon, but just with quiz inside. So it's very easy, it's simple, it's understandable. It's a quiz game. Okay, I understand. I download the game. And last example about the screenshots. It's once again for PixQuiz. The screenshot of on the left, which is quite ugly, I admit, is a real game, in fact. But when it moves, when you have colors, when you have the sound and so on, and the effects, it's cool. When it doesn't move, it's just very flat and quite sad, so it's not very attractive. So we broke everything, and we did the screenshot on the right, which is completely fake. It's not the game, it's just fake. But people can understand that there is a picture, like a kind of photomaton picture. People can understand they can fight against each others, and then it's not the game, but it explains what is a game, and then it's much more attractive eventually. So you have to get this kind of thinking in order to have a good packaging for your app. Second main point of this presentation focuses on the technical aspects of the user acquisition, technical topics. So in fact, it's quite critical because if you don't back technically your user acquisition, you won't be able to manage user acquisition properly. So you have to focus on everything in order to make sure that technically it works fine. So what do you want to focus on when you start with mobile marketing? You have to integrate what we name a tracking tool. A tracking tool, it's an SDK. An SDK is a kind of a little program that you embed inside an application that allows you to track what happens inside the application. So it's not an analytics tool. The goal is really to be dedicated to user acquisitions and to mobile marketing. You have a couple of tools on the market. Here are some big ones on the market, like Adjust, Tune, AppsFlyer, and some others. So you have to pick up a good one to make sure that it works fine. Why do you want to integrate a tracking tool? For three main reasons, three main purposes. First one is deduplicate the installs. So here I'm focusing more on the app than on the mobile website. So deduplicate the installs, which means that when you run user acquisition, for example, on several sources, for example, Google, Facebook, and Twitter, you want to know where your download comes from. If you don't have a tool that allows you to tell where the downloads come from, you won't be able to know where the downloads come from. And then this tool is plugged on many sources on the market and allows you to know where the download comes from. So first, main reason, you want to deduplicate the install. You know where it comes from. Second main topic is to track in-app events. An in-app event, it's an event that happens inside your app. So it depends on every app, but I will give you some examples. You download the application of Vente Privée or Price Minister. You have to sign up to create a new login. This is an event. And you do a purchase, you buy a new pair of shoes, it's an event also. So you will put some events inside your app in order to track how often happen every event. And the third main point is that you will be able to pay per install. So you won't buy impressions or clicks, you will be able to pay for every install, which is less risky for an advertiser. It doesn't work with all the traffic sources, it works only with some traffic sources. But many ad networks accept a billing system with pay-per-install. And then it allows you to switch to such kind of business model, which is interesting for you. What are the key points for such tools? Several. First of all, it has to be a neutral system. You have some advertising networks, for example, they propose you to embed their own tracking tool. So it means that basically the advertising network will tell you how many downloads they sell you, and they will tell you what is the quality of the install that they just have sold you. So it's a bit strange. So you want to have a neutral tool that makes only this. Second point is that this tool has to be reliable. Reliable, it means that it has to be big enough. You want to have people who have a lot of people inside the company so that technically it works fine. You want to have a tool that everybody uses in order to be sure that it works fine. You don't want any bug. Third point, a good user interface so that you can use it easily. Fourth point, match your technical needs. So here it depends on every kind of applications, but for example, maybe you want to retrieve the device ID, so the unique identifier of your users. Some tools do it, some others not, and so on. So you have to dig into your need. And last point, have good, efficient customer support, so that if you have an issue, the tool can help you. What will you track? So you will be able to track several steps into a funnel. So first of all, the click on the advertising. So you display an advertising on Facebook, you will be able to know how many people clicked on the ad. Second point is the install, so you know how many install happened. Then the sign up, for example, if you are in an e-commerce application or if you are using BlaBlaCar. Fourth point is the usage. For example, in a game, you completed the tutorial, or you have reached the level 3, level 5, level 10, you are able to track every step. And last point is the purchase. I have purchased a new pack of gem inside Clash of Clans, for example, the game. So you can track a lot of different stuff. It depends on your app, you have to think about it. Don't track too much, because if you track too much, you are lost. Better done than perfect, so just pick up the main key events and follow them accurately. And the last point on this topic of the technical stuff to focus on is once you have embedded an SDK, so a tracking tool in order to track your users, you want to cohort your users. I think that about 80% of the clients who are working with, they launch an application, they put a lot of trackers inside the app, so they track everything, but there are only a few of them focusing on the app, so they don't have time, in fact, to analyze the data, or they do it poorly. And they don't cohort the users, they don't check what happens, so in fact, they launch an application and it takes months in order to analyze the data. Whereas if they had focused on it before, they could have known some information, they would have some knowledge a couple of days after the launch. So you have to focus on the data and you have to cohort your users, you have to understand the behavior of your users, and you have to make stuff with that. If you don't make stuff with the data, don't launch an application. It's useless. Because what happens is that you will launch your app and your app will be non-perfect. It can't be perfect. So it will be just 30% of its potential. So you have to use your data afterward to analyze everything. So in the focusing on the user acquisition, you have to cohort your device ID. So you have to stock the device ID. Device ID is the unique identifier of an application, for example. You have to stock this information, to store it, and to cohort your users in order to be able to separate the users who don't use the app, the users who use it a bit, the users who use it a lot, and then you must be able to do some stuff with that. You can be able, for example, to manage some retargeting. So you can retarget all the users who have downloaded the app but didn't log in, didn't sign up. And then you can launch new ads in order to push them to sign up. So for a cheap price, you will be able to save some users. So you have to do this. And if you don't plan it upfront, it won't work. Another topic on the technical stuff, which can look like easy, but in fact nobody does it perfectly. So in fact it's an issue. You have to think about your creatives. So you have to think about what will be my marketing message, what will be the picture that I will push to my users, and how will I create my creatives. You have three main genres of creatives. You have banners, interstitials, which are big banners basically, and videos. Three of them are efficient for different reasons. So what you have to pay attention to is the fact that on mobile, compared to desktop, you have many different sizes of devices. And then depending on the sources that you will use for user acquisition, you can cover up to 100 different sizes of creatives. So you have to think about it. You have to prepare yourself to produce a lot of creatives. So this is one example of a game, Mino Monsters, which is a kind of a Pokemon-like game. Same creative, 3 banners, 3 sizes. And this, in fact, you have 100 of them. So you have to think about it to make it properly efficient. Some bad example of creatives. This is a creative for Intermarché, a supermarket in France. It's blurry. The background is a bit confusing with the text. There is too much text. And the banner is not the good size of the screen. You can see that you have some white stuff on the left, on the right. But typically, it's a banner for iPhone 4, which is displayed on an iPhone 6. But it happens every day. I think that yourself, you may see some banners sometimes that don't have the good size. Second example for Mariono. Too much text, you don't understand what's on it. The call to action button is not big enough, so you don't even see what it is. And it's big, you have enlarged it quite a lot. But still, it's still too small, so it doesn't work. And last example, it's for McDonald's. So I tell you because I think that otherwise you can't see. It's typically a banner made for web, for desktop, that has been resized for mobile, which is just too small. Then you don't see anything. So these are 3 good examples. Problem of size, not related to the size of the screen. Problem of the banners sometimes are blurry because the quality is not good enough. There is too much text on it. It's not efficient. So technically, it's not a huge technical point, but it's technical point, on a production point of view, you have to think about the banners that you will produce in order to have good marketing banners before launching your campaigns. Third points, the media plan. So basically, now you are happy, you have made your app, so you have worked for 6 months, 12 months on it. You have made a kind of soft launch, so you know that your app is efficient, you have optimized it accordingly, you have made some iterations, you have optimized your retention, your monetization. You have embedded a tracking tool, so you have picked up one of them, you have checked before what are the good points and the bad points on this tracking tool. And you have also made some creatives that are efficient, that can attract your users, that show what is the app. So now you want to launch. So what do you do? The first point is to understand what kind of installs, what is the area you are going to launch your app on. So the app stores are paramount. So here we focus really on the app and not on mobile websites. The app stores are important to understand because if you don't understand how many downloads you can achieve and what marketing budget you must spend, you won't be able to emerge efficiently. The App Store is a kind of exponential market, and the higher you are in the App Store, the more downloads you do. So it's a kind of market where the winner takes all. If you're not on the top, you will just die. So you have, I think, millions of applications now live, and every day you have hundreds of apps. Most of them don't do marketing, most of them don't do PR, most of them don't emerge, in fact. So you have to go above everything. So here it's an example of a volume of installs that you achieve in France in one day, depending on the position that you have in the App Store. For example, if you are top 1 in the App Store, it means that you do about 30K installs per day. So right now, today, I don't know what is application number 1 in the top 3 apps category of the App Store, but this application is doing about 30K installs per day. If you are top 10, you reach 15K, so twice less. If you are top 50, you do about 2 to 3K. So you can see that from top 1 to top 50, you do 10 times less downloads. And the lower you go in the App Store, the faster it goes. So if you are below top 200, or top 300, top 400, you do 10 downloads, 50 downloads, not that much. So you want to emerge. You want to go on the top of this. And second main point, how does this App Store algorithm work? And why Apple decides that at one point this application is number 1 of the App Store, whereas another one is top 500. It's related to 3 criteria. First one is volume of downloads. So the more downloads, the higher you are. Second point is retention. The better quality is your application. The more people use it when they download it, the higher you are. And the third point is a kind of potpourri of a lot of stuff that only Apple and Google know. For example, the number of ratings, the average rating of your app, so the number of stars, and so on. So the higher is your rating and the more good ratings you have, the higher you will be in the App Store. There is a slight difference between iOS and Android. On iOS, the volume of download is more important than on Android. So on iOS, if you do lot of download in one day, during that day you can be number 1 of the App Store. On Google Play, it depends. If your application has a very bad quality and a very low retention, even if you buy 1 billion downloads, well, maybe it will work with 1 billion downloads, but even if you buy lot of downloads, you are not sure to be number 1. So basically, your goal as a marketing guy, if you want to kick off your application and make it successful and make it not only successful on the volume of downloads that you buy, but if you want to make it a buzz, you have to buy a lot of downloads aggregated in order to push your app high in the App Store so that people see it in the App Store, in the top of the App Stores, and then you will be able to generate additional organic installs. This is what we name a kind of burst strategy, which is not the main point, but which is an important point in marketing. So what you will do, for example, the 3 first days, nothing happens, you don't buy any downloads, and then you don't do any downloads. So in green, it's organic installs, so it means that it's installs for free. It's just install of normal users that are looking for your app in the App Store. And in red, it's the downloads that you buy. So you managed some user acquisition, you have displayed some banners in order to push people to download your application. On the 4th day, you run a user acquisition campaign, so you do a lot of ads everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you spam the world, and you generate 5,000 installs on one day in the iOS App Store. Your application will go up in the App Store. It will come from a top 500 to top 300 to top 100 to top 50, top 10. Top 10, it's cool. Okay. You reach top 10, and here your application is visible, so people can see this application. So they are happy. They see that you have a nice icon because you have polished your icon a lot. And they think that your app is interesting, and then they download it. So it makes green downloads. It's organic installs. You stop your user acquisition campaign because you just want to stop because you don't have enough money anymore. Your application starts being less visible. You start decreasing in the App Store, and then little by little you go down to top 500. And then you keep doing some downloads, organic downloads for free, because your application is still visible, less and less visible, but still visible high in the App Store. And then you make additional downloads. So that's what we name the organic uplift strategy. So your goal is to, when you do user acquisition on mobile, it's to buy downloads in order to get more downloads for free. So here are some examples that are relevant. It's just a fake example, but the figures are more or less relevant on the French market. If you buy 0 install, for example, you generate natively 30 downloads per day. That's more or less what happens with an application that is not famous. If you didn't do anything, you will just do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 installs per day. You start buying 200 installs, and here you start doing 70 additional organic installs. So you went up from 30 organic installs to 70 organic installs. Because of virality, because your app is a bit more visible in the subcategories of the App Store, for example, the shopping category, and so on. Then we can calculate an additional organic uplift percentage of about 20%. So I just did 70 minus 30 divided by the number of installs that I have booked, then 200. So it gives me plus 20%. And if I buy more installs, the app will be even higher in the rankings, and I will go even higher in terms of visibility, and then I will do plus 35% of additional organic installs. So the more you buy, the more visible you are, the more additional organic installs you get, and it's a kind of virtuous circle. So you can do these downloads not only with user acquisition. Here we are talking about mobile marketing, so I speak about user acquisition. But you can also do some cross-promotion with other apps. You can do, for example, RP.com, press relation. You can also get some featuring from the App Store, so you can try to discuss with Apple and Google to get some featuring so that they push you on the recommendation page. What percentage of additional installs can you expect? Between plus 30% and plus 100% on the first day if you do a big burst, depending on the attractivity of your app. Which means that if your app is very attractive, because it's very casual, it can attract men, women, old people and young people. So 100% of the audience is your target. Then if you are number one of the App Store, many people will be able to download it. If your app is very specific, if it attracts only the young guys interested in RPG games, then your app won't be very attractive for a lot of people, and then you will do less additional downloads. So depending on the attractivity of your app, you can be interested or not in making a burst. Same concept. Depending on the attractivity of your app, your application will go down in the App Store faster or slower, and then you will do plus 30 to plus 100% of installs in the later 7 days after the download, after the burst. In terms of acquisition, you want to aggregate many traffic sources. So your goal is not to buy only from one traffic source, otherwise you will be forced to saturate the market. For example, let's say that you launch advertising only on Google. Maybe Google will be able to drive you 100 installs per day at a CPI, a cost per install that is affordable. So it's not enough, in fact. So if you want to have more installs, either you will be forced to pay higher the advertisings on Google in order to have more visibility on the Google network, or you will push ads on other sources. So you will keep the same price on Google, and you will push ads on other locations, for example, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, other ad networks like iAd, Millennial, InMobi, and so on. So your goal will be basically to spread your marketing spendings on as many sources as possible in order to avoid saturation of every source. And then we discussed about the concept of burst. So burst is the first day you push, you go very high, it gives you visibility, traction, and so it's interesting. But most of the advertisers, in fact, what they do is afterward a kind of sustain. So it means that every day you will buy some installs, every day you will push some ads, you will optimize your advertising depending on the performance of your campaigns, and you will get a permanent additional organic uplift which allows you, in fact, to drive traction on long term for your application. This is okay. In terms of sources, mobile is a bit specific compared to desktop. On desktop, the good point is that it's quite easy to manage user acquisition. You know some sources. You know that you can focus on AdWords. If you buy on AdWords, DSP, Facebook, you cover most of the market. On mobile, it's very fragmented. You have different social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You have some specific applications like WhatsApp, Snapchat, and others that will open more sooner or later some ads capacity for advertisers. You have many different ad networks per country or globally. You have DSP, ad exchange, which are growing more and more. You have some incentivized networks, some direct apps, some affiliates. So it's quite a mess. So this is an approximate percentage of installs that come from our own company. It's not the same because it depends on every company. Some companies are specialized in only one source and then they do only this. On our side, we buy everywhere. But it's more or less representative of what is interesting in terms of acquisition on a ROI focus point of view. Because our company is really ROI focused. We only buy installs in order to optimize the campaigns and get quality installs. We don't do branding, for example. So you have to dig into the market, check which sources are relevant for your need, and optimize accordingly. Here it's an example of one client we are working with for about 1 year. So it's just to give you a kind of practical example of what happens related to what I said. This is a graph, a chart coming from Apani. Apani, it's an analytic website that allows you to analyze the position of an application inside the App Store. In red, it's the position of this application. So Mareduc, it's a shopping couponing application. So it allows you to have some reduction. It's quite cool. You can download the app. And this application then allows you, it's more for male and female, especially for females, but also for males. So it's quite casual, so it's quite broad in terms of audience. What they wanted to do, it was a kind of relaunch of their application in order to be very strong in the French market and be able to keep their number one position that they have on desktop. So they relaunched their application in July 2015. And what we did at the beginning is a burst. So on this Apani chart, you can see the red lines, which is the shopping category in the App Store, and the blue line is the free app overall category. So free app overall category, it's the general ranking for all the free apps in the App Store. So you can focus on the red one mainly, and then it shows you how high in this application is in the App Store. For example, the higher you are, the closer is this application to the top number one. So if they are on the top of the chart, they are number one of the App Store. So at the beginning, before we started the campaigns, they were around the top 250 and top 500 of the shopping category in France. We started the campaigns in July. We pushed the app with a burst campaign. So they reached a very high position in the top 10 ranking. I don't remember, but it was around top 5 or top 10. We sticked there during 2 to 3 days in order to grab as many downloads as possible. And after we slowed down the spendings in order to decrease a bit, but while still spending money for about 1 month, I think, 1 month and a half. So lower volume of acquisition. We went down from maybe 7,000 installs per day to maybe 700 per day, which still sticked the application at a high position. And during some specific phases, for example, during summer, in August, September, they wanted to stop the acquisition because it's not a good period for them, so we just stopped. And you can see that the application decreased in the App Store. So here they rely only on the organic installs. And after, for some specific periods, so from October, November, so for all the Christmas period and until January, I think, we recovered again the acquisition with a permanent volume of installs. So it shows you a strategy of application on about 1 year where we have a burst in order to kick off a new update of the app, so a kind of big push in order to come back on the market. A sustain for a couple of weeks. Some period where the application is not interested into downloads, we just stop and then it just go down. And after, when we want to come back, we can do either a new burst and or a sustained period of acquisition. So there are some stop and go. Every client has its own needs, and then it depends on what you want, of course. Something which is interesting, you can see that before July, the application was around the top 250 shopping, whereas after the first period of acquisition, in the middle, we stopped the acquisition, but the application sticked around top 150 of the shopping category. So it stick at a higher position than before the campaigns. It's because you still have virality, plus when you do marketing for your application, the more downloads you do, the higher you come back in the search results on the app stores, and it allows you to drive more permanent organic installs. So it's also a benefit of doing acquisition. Still focusing on the media plan. So now you know more or less what you need to do. Burst, sustain, stop and go sometimes. You have to think about also your pre-targeting, which means you launch your app, you really have to think about the targeting. If you push ads everywhere on every source with just a basic app, it won't work. It won't work because you have to understand your audience in order to show them the good ad, and you must also, as far as possible, push your ad to the good people, the people that are really interested into your application. So think about the demography, sex, age, think about the geo. Are you targeting French users? If you have, for example, a game can be interesting for any geo, but is French users the best for your games? Just an example, if you have a strategy game, German people love strategy games and they love war games. So maybe don't push that much in France, just push in Germany if you have a tiny marketing budget. Just an example. You have to think about the interest of your app. You can also do some targeting on your users. You can target also the hours of display of ads, everything that can be related for you. For example, for e-commerce apps, the best time for pushing people to buy is between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. So maybe it's interesting to push ads at this specific period. And giving you one example on the creatives, once again, PickSqueeze. So a game that targets everybody, but we did advertisings for different genres of people. And then, for example, for people who are fan of cars, for specific ads that are pushed into websites dedicated to people who are fan of cars, we just did an advertising with a Porsche. And we did many different ads targeting female, male with pink colors or blue colors. We did ads focusing on people who are interested in playing alone to games, and ads targeting people who are playing multiplayer mode. So the goal for you can be also to do not one ad, but 10 ads, every ad dedicated to a different audience that you target, which will allow you to have better conversion rates, and then lower prices and more volume of installs. In terms of metrics, so I told you, wait, I will start with this one. I told you that in France, if you are top one, you will do 30k installs per day. So it's quite good. It's on iOS. On Google Play, the market is higher. You will be able to generate 40k. I think it's probably bigger now. I'm not 100% sure this charts was done about 9 to 12 months ago. So maybe it has evolved since then. If you launched in other countries, for example the US, which is of course a big market, the metrics are completely different. It's 10 times bigger, so of course you must spend also much more if you want to enter this market. So I can only recommend you to start on small markets or medium-sized markets and attack the US when you are sure that you have good potential. You are not forced to target a very high position in the US. You can still target a lower position and get okay volume of installs. But if you want to be strong in the US, you have to be ready to spend quite a lot. And just to give you an idea of the size of some different markets, so I especially focused on Western countries, but we can have other metrics like Brazil, South Korea, and some others. I just added Japan as for information. So of course the US are paramount and very big for mobile apps. UK in Europe is quite big also. Germany is a bit bigger than France, especially big on Android. Germany is a big country for Android devices. And you have some smaller markets in Europe like Italy or Spain which are still interesting. Yes? It's per day, yes. in terms of metrics, so now you know how many installs you must buy if you want to push your app strongly. So now what money shall you spend for every install that you need to buy? It's a complicated answer because it depends a lot on every application. And then really pay attention about this chart because the truth is that it's wrong for many apps because it depends. Still, it gives you an idea. The goal for me was to show you some metrics to have an idea of comparison country per country. So the US is a very expensive market. For some apps that are very specific, you need to pay very high. We are working for some big mobile game developers for hardcore games, and they are okay to pay up to $10 to $15 per install, so it's huge. But they are profitable, so they do it. If we focus on France, so we'll just speak about France, but after it's the same for, you just have to adapt for every country. So in France, it's between $1.5 and $4 for a quality, non-incentivized install. And I highlight these words. It's a non-incent quality installs. So it's a user that is really interested into your app. So if you want to have a relevant volume of install in France, you have to be okay to pay up to $2, $3, $4. It depends on different criteria. It depends on the OS. Android is about 30% more expensive than iOS. It depends on the volume of installs that you want. If you want to buy 10 downloads per day, it will be much cheaper than if you want to buy 1,000 installs per day. It depends. Yes? iOS is more expensive. iOS is 30% more expensive. If you want to promote an application that is very specific, that doesn't attract a lot of people, you will have to pay more because you will have to show more ads in order to push one guy to download the app. So it will be more expensive. So yeah, there are many criteria that make that advertising and CPI, cost per install, can be very different depending on what you want to do. Nevertheless, you can expect that. So just one example, PickSqueeze, our own game, when we run user acquisition, so we are really targeting profitability for every install that we book because we were very cautious about the money. And we could buy some install on Facebook between 25 cents and 50 cents. 25 cents on Android and 50 cents on iOS. So you can go even below, but it's just a question of volume of installs and optimization. So it depends. So how to organize your media plan? It will be the last part of this media plan part. It's just a fake example. In fact, it's a real screenshot of Apani, of an application that we have worked for. It's a TF1 console. It's a couponing also application, but never mind about the app. We don't care. In fact, it's just an example. In this example, so we did no UA before mid-May 2015. User acquisition. User acquisition is mobile marketing. So it's the art of attracting user. So no user acquisition for a couple of months for this application. From mid-May, we started doing user acquisition. So you can see that the application goes very high in the ranking, up to top 5, top 10 free app category. So we name it a burst. You can see that we start a bit before because we wanted to check that the tracking was working okay. So we start at low level few days before, and after we launch a burst campaign very quickly. After we do a small sustain for about 2 weeks, and after we stop the UA. We stop the user acquisition. Some metrics about the burst. 48 hours burst, cost 10k euros, about. We generate 12k installs. So it's fake figures, but it's just to give you some insight and some feeling on the metrics and the size of a market. But it depends on every application. But here it's a good average, so you can rely on these figures. So 12k installs. So every install costs about 80 cents, 90 cents, stuff like that. And we reached the top 10 free app category. So this burst during 48 hours cost us 10k euros, so about 11 to 12k dollars, to generate about 12k installs in order to reach the top 10 free app category. It allows us, of course, to make more organic installs also, so about plus 50 to plus 100% of organic installs, and it kicks off the life of the app with a big push. After we have the sustain, so sustain during 2 weeks. So during 2 weeks, we pay about 20k euros. Every installs cost about 2 euros, so it's more expensive than a burst, but it's better quality. We target only users that are potentially interested in the application, and we display cool ads and the people download it, but we have to pay more for them. We generate about 10k installs, and we sustain the app at the top 150 free app category. So the global cost of this plan, a lot of figures. First week, burst campaign, and after 3 weeks of sustain, for example. So it's an example of basic and simple media plan. You see the number of paid installs that you can buy, so it's just an example, which is correlated to the ones that I just showed you. It's the same concept. 1 week burst, 3 weeks sustain. You can see the percentage of organic uplift that you can expect, about plus 70% the first week during the burst because your application is very high, and after plus 30% every week. So you can see the total installs that you do, so you addition the paid installs and all the additional organic uplift installs that you generated. You see the CPI that you target, $1 for the launch, for the burst. It's cheap installs, low quality, lot of downloads, but it allows you to go high. And after you sustain the app with good quality installs at about $2. And then you can see after the budget and the category ranking that you target. For example, top 3 shopping or top 3 travel or top 3 something. Yes? Here it's French. Yeah, it's for French market. If you want to adapt to other countries, you can do a good calculations with this, and it's more or less good. So you just compare. Really, I insist, depending on the app, it will vary a lot. Between the CPI, maybe for the sustain, here it's $2, but if your application is very specific, maybe I will tell you that you need to spend $4. Maybe you want to do a burst, but maybe you are not forced to do it. If your application is very specific, I will tell you, no, it's not a good idea, don't do a burst, just do sustain. Just grab the very targeted, good quality users and don't do a burst. Maybe I will tell you it's not required to target the top 3 category. Maybe with a burst you can target the top 5 or top 10. So it will be cheaper also. So everything is adaptable. It really depends on every app. There is no general rule. I insist on that. There is no general figure and no general rule. So you have launched your marketing campaigns. You spend a lot of money. It's cool. And you are happy and you have downloads and you have metrics and you make even some money because some people pay inside your application. So you are very happy. Now, what to do? What metrics to focus on and what decisions to make? First point, you have to know your targets. Targets depend on everybody. Every application has its own targets. So I don't know your targets. It's your business. You have to know your targets. So how much money do you need to generate per user? On average, what happens on your market? What do your competitors? What is your average ARPU, average revenue per user? What is your average ARPDAU, average revenue per daily average user? So it depends on every application. What is your retention? Same, it depends on every application. So I have no answer on that. It's your stuff. But especially for the metrics, you have to dig into the details. So you have to focus on the granularity. Because if I tell you, for example, that your average revenue per user is $2, it's not enough. Maybe the male pay only $1, whereas the female pay $3. Maybe the people who have an iPhone will pay $4, whereas the people who have an Android phone pay only $1. So you have to dig into the granularity per device, per country, per geo, per OS, per everything. And it's only by going into the granularity that you will be able to see where you are profitable and where you are not profitable. And then you will be able to cut off where you are not profitable and reinforce where you are profitable. So you make use of some analytic tools in order to check that. So you have to dig into details. Here is just a screenshot of our dashboard that shows you the level of spending. So it's the orange chart and the evolution of the in-app performance on a specific event that you track. For example, the in-app purchase. And then you can follow up what happens. But you have other tools on the market. Just make sure that you have the good tools in order to analyze the in-app performance. I give you just 3 examples that are relevant on this granularity. High-end device, it's an expensive device, for example, iPhone 6. Low-end device, it's a cheap device, for example, Samsung Galaxy S2. Maybe some CPI will be lower on low-end device because there is less marketing pressure, but the ARPU will be very low. Whereas on high-end device, maybe the CPI will be higher because there is more marketing pressure. Everybody wants to buy ads for this device, but the ARPU will be much better. So in fact, you can be profitable on ads that are more expensive sometimes. Same example, here it's real figures coming from our own game Pick Squeeze, so I can show you the figures because it's my game. It shows you the performance that we had in different countries on a specific period of time. It was like 9 months ago, I think, or stuff like that. So you can see the spend. it was on Facebook, I think. Spend, installs, cost per install, the revenue, the percentage of spend per country, and the ROI. And in this example, you can see very quickly that the CPI is the highest in the US, whereas it's the only country where we are profitable. So it's more expensive, but we make more money. So we should cut off all the other countries and focus only on the US. Same example, same game, same figures. It's my figures. Here it's even more interesting. We launch ads on some countries. I don't know which ones, but we don't care. And you can see the performance per age. And what you can see is that the profit, for example, the people between 35 and 45 years old are more profitable than people who are between 13 and 17 years old. So in fact, we are profitable only on some specific users. Whereas if you focus on the volume of installs, for example, you can see that the biggest category of people is 18 to 24. It makes about 8,000 installs, so it's about 50% of all the installs. But on this specific user age, we are not profitable. So we have cut off everything. And in fact, as for information, we have run user acquisition only on people between 25 and 55 years old. We cut off everything else, anything else. So we could be profitable only on 30% of the audience, and it's okay. If we are profitable, we can keep going the ads, launch more traffic sources, and scale like that. We avoid all the people who are not profitable for us. Last topic will be the creatives. Pay attention also on your creatives. It's not enough to just launch ads and get the performance and see how it goes. It's not good enough. In fact, you have to check the performance. So check the CTR, conversion rates, and focus on the ones that perform the best and do some iteration on them. Same for this ad for Tekken. Check your conversion rates. On these two advertisings, for example, we have the same conversion rates, print to click. So same volume of people when we see the ads, download it, they click on it. But we have a twice better conversion rate, click to install, which means that we have twice more people after the click that download on the ad on the right. So you have to analyze the conversion rates print to click and click to install. Analyze drastically. Pay attention to the fraud. Last point, there is a lot of fraud on mobile. It's about 30% of all the mobile app installs, so it's just huge. So analyze different stuff. For example, pay attention about the fake installs in China, whereas you are targeting France. I said China, but it could be Russia also. Be careful about the bots that farm some clicks on some installs. So you have quite a lot of stuff that you need to focus on. And if you see that you have some fraud, don't pay for it. Just negotiate with the ad network and you just don't pay. It's not normal to pay for fraud. And once you have detected some issues inside your app, optimize it. Optimize your retention. For example, push a lot of push notifications. So it's just an example of a game that was very successful 1 year ago for Pix1 World, 4 images un mot. It was a screenshot of my own device where I received about 1 push notification per day, or even 2 per day. And it pushed me to come back. So they were very aggressive in order to push people to come back inside the app. And last slide will be our own game also. It's just an example of optimizations that you can do, focusing on the monetization. We noticed that the people were buying more high-priced package of gift inside the game than cheap ones. So at the beginning, the first prices started from $1, 80 cents, euros. And we noticed that people were in fact buying more package at high price, and then we changed everything and we pushed first the more expensive, and we have just hidden the cheapest one, and it allowed us to make plus 15% of monetization just by this little trick. So launch ads, test everything, analyze into the granularity, cut off the segment of ads where you're not profitable, depending on the users, the countries, the device, and so on. And do some optimization inside your game, so your app. So here it's very specific, it depends on every app, but focus on the retention and the monetization in order to improve and increase your metrics. That's it. Do you have some questions?
Thanks for the presentation. What's a good retention rate, like after, say, 2 weeks?
It depends on every app. 2 examples. A news app, for example, we are working for Le Figaro, Le Parisien, 20 Minutes, and so on. So such kind of apps, after 2 weeks, they have a very high retention rate. Maybe, I don't know, 50, 60%. It's quite high, in fact. So it means that 1 out of 2 one people out of 2 leave the app after 2 weeks, but it's still quite high, in fact, being able to keep 50% of people. For other applications, for example, a mobile game that is targeting people who are fan of strategy games, such games, after 2 weeks, if you have a 10% conversion rate or 20% conversion rate, you are very happy. So it depends. You don't have general rule.
I have a question. Which one of the tracking tools do you recommend for little startups? Like, the app is not looking for users, but it's like for fidelizing people who are already on the app, like for a product or a service. So which one of those? Because I know there are a lot of tracking tools. Do you recommend?
I won't tell you a name here because it's not my role to push one. I think that all these ones are relevant and efficient. They are reliable, used by many people on the market. All of them have a cost anyway, so you won't have a good tracking tool for free, and you don't even have a tracking tool efficient for free. You don't have a tool for free. If it's free, it's weird. But we can discuss after if you want, depending on your need. It also depends on what kind of user acquisition you want to do. For example, some tracking tools, they will make you pay very cheap, very, very cheap, but they will make you pay the clicks and the installs. Some, for example, mobile app tracking, Tune. It's a new name of mobile app tracking, it's Tune. They make you pay very, very, very cheap every click and every install. Whereas some others, like Adjust or AppsFlyer, they make you pay only the install, but a bit more expensive. And depending on the kind of acquisition that you will do, will your acquisition generate many clicks or not? Will you need a lot of clicks in order to generate one install? Depending on this, it can be cheaper or more expensive on one tool or the other. So already I need to know a bit more, but generally speaking, these ones are good. It's a good basis.
Would Mixpanel and Flurry be examples of tracking tools as well?
Excuse me?
Mixpanel.
Mixpanel?
Yeah.
For me, it's not a tracking tool that allows really to track the it doesn't make this. It can, at some extent, but it doesn't have specific deals with traffic sources like Facebook, for example, in order to be able to track everything. So Mixpanel, it will be more used as an analytic tool than as an analytic tool for user acquisition specifically. So there are already different kind of analytic tools. You have analytic tools for user acquisition, analytic tools for understanding the behavior of the users inside an application, and it's two different kind of tools. Even Google Analytics, for example, it can tell you a bit where the install comes from, but they don't have specific deals with all the traffic sources, and then in fact it doesn't do the job properly because you won't be able to pepper install, it doesn't manage efficiently the deduplication, and it's not connected, for example, to a tool like Facebook, so you can't use it. You can use it a bit, but a bit is not enough, so you have to get a good tool. Mixpanel is the same.
Is the same for Flurry?
Yeah, exactly. Same with Flurry. Flurry allows you to track the install, so you can know where it comes from, but it's only by fingerprint. You don't have a connection specifically with every source on the market. They don't manage Facebook, for example, tracking, and then you can't use it in order to deduplicate efficiently. So you can use it a bit, but it's not enough to run user acquisition really efficiently. They are not dedicated to this, in fact.
So would you recommend using two tools, one for acquisition, one for behavior, or?
Yes, definitely. Okay. You need to have two tools. Sometimes some people focusing on tracking tools for user acquisition, they tell me, okay, I can track everything in my app, and then I can understand how people react. But no, because in fact these tools are not built and designed in order to understand the behavior of the users. They are just designed to be able to analyze the funnel of conversion inside an application for a specific source and compare one source against the other. It's for that. Okay. It's not designed to properly understand how a user acts inside an application. You can use it a bit, but it won't match your need. So it's better to have two tools. One analytic tool and one tracking tool for user acquisition.
Okay, thanks.
And Flurry is a good tool for analytics, for example, or Mixpanel also.
Okay, thank you.
The paid installs actually, is these installs are performed by humans being or by machines?
Okay, no.
Why are they so expensive if they just performed by machines?
No, it's installs that people download. don't. You can use some bots, robots if you want, but I don't advise to use robots. Everything I explained was about displaying advertising to a real human being in order to to push them to download an application. So it's just ads to push people to download application. So it's a real human being.
No fake downloads actually.
No, yeah, I don't advise to do it. You can do it if you want. We can discuss about it later. But it's not a very good idea because now Apple or Google can recognize. Sometimes they can recognize automatically when you have some fake installs made by bots. They can kick your app out of the App Store. They can count these downloads as fake ones. It was quite popular, in fact, a couple of years ago. Some companies used intensively some robots. Now it's a bit complicated. You can do it, but I don't advise it, really. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Que l'enfant